World Chess Championship match between Gukesh and Dinleran is just a few weeks away. It's getting closer and closer, and this is the video series where I walk you through the history of the World Chess Championship matches in this century. I didn't analyze the early one in from 2000 to 2010. So I started with Carlsen versus Unmatched from 2013-2014 in China and Sochi. Then we moved on to New York in 2016, where Karyakin faced versus Magnus, and those three matches ended in Magnus's favor. Then Magnus had a very difficult match against Fabiano Caruana, one of the best Magnus's challengers so far. 12 games in a draw, and on tie-break Magnus defeated him, and we came down to 2021 World Chess Championship match between Magnus Carlsen and Jan Nepomniachtchi. There were a lot of talks before the match that Jan had a positive score against Magnus, had a consistently good results against him, and some people even predicted that Jan had better chances against Magnus. But Magnus played so many matches, had so much experience in these matches. Of course it's going to be tough. First 5 games finished in a draw, and we came down to probably the crucial game of the whole match, because that game actually probably resulted in the defeat of one of these players. So Magnus plays d4, knight f6, knight f3, d5, g3. So goes for this weird Catalan, doesn't start with c4, goes for this kind of boring setup. Bishop g2, castle b3. So as you see, nothing crazy, just simple play. Magnus doesn't want to do anything insane. c5, d takes c5, bishop c5, c4. So c4 finally is played. This bishop was going to b2. This is kind of the setup Hikaru usually plays during some of his blitz games on Title Tuesdays. Just double flank out of the bishops and just do whatever you want. D takes c4, queen c2. So the point is c takes b3, of course, queen c5, queen s7, protecting the bishop. Now knight bd2, sacrificing this pawn. Now, of course, here, could just take, but the machine is not scared of it. But human are usually, kind of skeptical about accepting all the sacrifices, because look, the point here is, again, now Magnus starts pressing this bishop. All the pieces are very active, while black have whole uncastled queen side. So of course it's going to be kind of complicated to develop pieces afterwards. So that's why I'm playing knight c6, and after knight c4 he plays absolutely brilliant e5 move. So he develops, he creates first of all square for his bishop by quickly pushing this pawn to b5, attacking this knight, and of course bishop b7 is coming next, knight d5, knight b4. That's all pre-planned. Queen b2, bishop b7, and now Jan of course has no problems. a3, knight c6, knight d3, hitting the bishop, bishop goes to b6, bishop g5, pinning this queen on this diagonal. Rook d8, bishop f6, g takes f6. Not going for queen f6. Even though Jan could have gone to the endgame, I'm not sure why he didn't go for it, because here Magnus would probably 100% play queen f6, because if he doesn't play it, then he's probably just a lot worse. Not a lot worse, but look, Jan managed to kind of put his bishop, everything is good coordinated. Queen f6 would have been a good choice, but Jan decided to go for g takes f6, knight d4, takes, queen a2, bishop g2, and now, yes, so Jan started trading pieces. But the point is, he left this g takes f6 like terrible pawn structure. I would rather see it in the endgame than here. But alright, queen f4, this a5, king g7, rook d2, still nothing much is happening. And here Jan decided to go for this endgame where he has queen versus 2 rooks and knight, which is absolutely equal, by the way, but it's very important. So sometimes, these types of positions can be favorable for black, as they have queen versus 2 rook, but sometimes, in most cases, it's favorable for the side playing with 2 rooks. And the idea here is that, alright, he has the bishop will have to go somewhere. But, you know, endgame is equal. h5, king h2, bishop b2, rook c5, queen d6, but slowly, you know, it's Magnus after all. Bishop a3, rook b5, queen d7, rook c5. Jan was even better. He played e5. I'm not sure why he didn't play bishop b4 here. Because bishop b4 here would probably, I don't know, be very, very simple. Rook d2, queen b3, but he decided not to do it. E4, knight c5, queen b4, knight d4, queen b3. So once again, if queen f4 here is played, white are just winning, because takes, rook f4, rook takes on a4 eventually, and there is just terrible pawn structure. Rook potentially will go to a5, f5, and take the whole kingside. The point is that at any point queen will not be able to sacrifice it back for two rooks, because white will have just more pawns. Alright, queen b3, rook c2, bishop f8, knight c5. The position is still equal according to machine. Rook a2, bishop b4, thus king h6, queen a4, and you know, it still was very equal. And of course there are chances, and considering that Magnus has better pawn structure, if he manages to take pawn on a3, it might be actually very complicated to defend it for black pieces. Rook a3, and now he goes for this interesting, absolutely interesting sacrifice. Like, if takes. So the point is, white just have a better pawn structure. Weakness on h5. And according to computer, the position is better for white pieces. The plan is simple. Rook a5, rook f5, rook f4, and then try to come up with ideas to manage to take this pawn on h5. So it's very complicated. This goes back, queen f4. I'm not sure, I don't think this move makes a draw, because takes, and apparently, you know, king will eventually escape the checks. Queen f4, rook a4, bishop e5, knight e2, queen c2, this, queen b3, king g2, queen d5. Once again, equal position. But, you know, Magnus is known for squeezing these types of positions, and that's exactly what happens in this game as well. Rook c1, this, rook e5, queen b3, queen d5. This game lasted, I think, for like 7 hours. Bishop a7, bishop c5, still position is somewhat equal. Bishop a7, this, and look, Jan was ready to repeat the moves, but here, once again, takes, rook b7 takes, and now we get to the following position where Magnus has 3 pawns, knight and rook, versus this queen on d5, pawn on h5, and king on g6. Very, very fascinating. Queen b7, rook a2, this, rook a6, knight f3, queen b1. Sometimes it's easy to blunder some. So, you know what, here Magnus still gotta be very careful, because, you know, he places rook somewhere, and, you know, there are different checks. Queen is a very wide piece. It can check and take your pieces wherever they are on the board, so gotta be very careful. But Magnus is not scared of anything like this. This, rook e2, rook c2, knight e4, rook c7, rook c6. So you see how smart he's playing. He's avoiding checks, he's slowly making some progress, his rook is always protected, so he has almost nothing to worry about. He's just trying to make some progress here. Knight f3, d7, but I mean, it looks like we return to this, like, you know, this old position, and it exactly looks like it, but still, you know, Magnus is shuffling around, moves his pieces. You see now he's pushed his e-pawn. Takes, this, rook d3, rook f3, queen d8. Position was again equal. Rook e3, queen d7, but I mean, Jan gotta be very careful, because, you know, he does something stupid, he's lost. Rook d5, rook e5, rook f5, e5, king h3, king h4, and at this point, look how smart Magnus is. Queen f5, knight g7. Everything is protected. Knight and rook are well coordinated between each other, and they're able to take the win for Magnus. f5, knight g7, and here Nepo resigned. The fortress was broken, and Magnus won in his tremendous style, like he usually does it, and he took the lead in game 6. And we are coming to game number 8, which was another success for Grandmaster Magnus Carlsen. We saw the Petrov. Petrov is one of the openings that Jan plays all the time and well known for it, so course, that was one of the openings for preparation. Bishop b4, queen e7 takes, and we got the following position, where I would say most of the games would probably finish in an easy draw. Between, on this level, it should end in a draw. Rook e8, rook e1, rook h6, queen g5, c6, takes, rook e1, queen f6, this, bishop d7, h4. But as you can see, Magnus, he has very, I'll say it a lot in this video, it looks like, but he has very well coordinated pieces, while Jan has rook on h6. Like, what is it doing on h6? It should be somewhere in e8, and the game ends in a draw. But because this rook is on h6, Magnus can create some chances. He plays c4 takes, queen a3, king g8, queen a7, hitting the bishop. By the way, b5 is a blunder. It is a blunder. On this level, it reminds me of a blunder that Magnus made in the match with Anand, and Vishy didn't use it, and Magnus ended up winning that game. But in this game, Jan plays b5. And I remember this moment very well, because, many commentators were like, what is he doing? I think Anish Giri was watching it and was like, what is Jan doing? That's just queen a3, queen a7, he's down, opponent completely lost position. And that's exactly what happens. Magnus just takes opponent, it is enough for him to convert this endgame. And once again we have like this queen endgame, but now it's queen versus queen, not queen versus rook and knight. And Jan was slowly losing. He was trying to make some progress, but eventually he fell, and Magnus took 2 points, which on this level, in this type of match, is almost impossible to take back. And the next game, guys, Jan Nepomniachtchi was playing with white pieces. The very next game, something interesting happened. e6, d5, d4. I'll quickly scroll through the opening. Knight g4, bishop c5, a4 takes, knight c5, a3, rook d8. Once again, Magnus managed to get a good position out of the opening. Knight d3, knight f6, there's queen a3, queen e2, h6, h4, bishop d7, knight d5, bishop e8, queen e3, queen b4, rook b1, trying to create some counterplay. And this game, by the way, is another great example of some lack of concentration, some lack of confidence maybe. But this was because I didn't remember, because I know at some point in the match Jan did a very stupid blunder, and I'm watching the structure, and this is where it happened. Queen e1, rook e1, bishop b7, rook a4, c5. c5 is the blunder of the whole match, because that was unexplainable. Like, you're playing in the World Chess Championship match, you play c5, and you just don't look for all the threats and attacks that black may have. And c5, once again, commentators were roasting this move. They couldn't believe their eyes, because after c6 the game is over. The bishop on b7 is just lost. Jan Nepomniachtchi, who played great first 5 games, lost in a very long 6th game, lost in game number 8, is about to lose game number 9, and probably the whole match. So f3, knight h6, rook e4, rook a7, rook b4, rook b8, it's pinned. There is no way to save it. a4 takes, b6 takes, knight c5. He was trying to create some counterplay, but of course it's Magnus Carlsen who is playing with the black pieces, and at this point Jan just resigned, and he's down 3 points in the match. And game number 11 was the final game of the match. To remind you, the format is 12 games, first to 6.5 points. Actually, wait, was it longer? Because at that point the match would have ended, right? So yeah, the match was probably 14 games, the same format that the upcoming match will have. So, because yeah, they were changing the formats, which is very stupid. After 12, yeah, because after the match in 2018 in London between Carlsen and Fabi, which ended in 12 draws. There were a lot of speculations on whether the format should be changed, because 12, you know, classical games in draw. You know how it was before? Like, obviously some of you are not very familiar with the history of chess, but the players like before 2000s, like when Kasparov, Karpov were playing, they were playing till like, you know, the draws were not kind of counted. They would play till certain number of wins, and sometimes matches were lost in like 50 games to get this 5 wins, and these matches were out of this world. They were playing like for years, so they were really fascinating. And now, of course, because I mean, we've grown, the chess is evaluating, the world is, you know, evolving, so of course people wouldn't have played this 15 games matches anymore. So we came up with this tie breaks, with this, you know, different systems. But alright, game number 11, Magnus is playing with black pieces. I think a draw was enough for him to secure a win, right? Because if the score is 6.5 to 3.5, so 3 games left, not 3 games, alright. So he makes a draw in this match, the score is 7 to 4, and there is game 12, 13-14, so technical chance, but again, probably a loss for Jan Nepomniachtchi. Bishop c5, d6, Italian game on the board. I mean, of course, Jan is trying to play for a win, but at this point, it's very complicated. h3, queen d7, rook d8, because we're talking not about some, you know, random youngster. We're talking about Magnus Carlsen, who has great experience in these matches and who is destroying his opponents easily and out of nowhere. Queen c2, rook f4, g3, and once again, Jan Nepomniachtchi blunders. He takes e3, takes queen g4, and of course, I'm not sure what was going through Jan's head, but once again he makes a terrible blunder and he's completely lost. Knight h4, queen g3, knight f3, queen f2, this takes, and we're transposing to an absolutely winning rook and game for black pieces. G6, takes, rook a2, and there is absolutely nothing Jan could do. Rook b3, h1, and slowly Jan lost the game. And slowly Magnus is converted. The point here is rook a6, that is just picking up everything. So if rook is leaving here, just can back go this. If rook a6, there is this, king a7, queen c7, pick up on an f4, and once again no progress can be made. King b7. I think we can just start, you know, pushing g5. And 7.5 to 3.5, the last match of Magnus Carlsen in World Chess Championship cycles. After this match, he decided not to continue anymore. He said that he lost the interest. Unless FIDE changes anything, he's not going to play. And till this moment, Magnus Carlsen is still nowhere to be found in classical world of chess. He's playing tournaments from time to time, but of course not participating in the World Chess Championship cycle. Unfortunately, I was discussing it in other videos that when the best player is not participating, that's a huge, you know, not huge mistake, but it's like huge disadvantage to our community, because, you know, when the best players are not participating, it's not as interesting to watch. I would be very, you know, excited to see the match between, let's say, Magnus and Lukash, or Magnus versus Rigazi, but we won't see it. We won't see it, unfortunately. Jean Laurent is playing versus Lukash. The match starts in the coming weeks, which will be, once again, it still will be very interesting to watch, because every time the championship happens, always fun to see no matter what who plays. Because Nepo versus Jean last time was kind of interesting to spectate, a lot of, you know, decisive games, and hopefully we can see it the same way in Singapore this year. But for now, I hope you enjoyed. Let me know who you're supporting in the upcoming match. I mean, I know probably a lot of people will be saying Lukash. I know some people said Dean, but there are not a lot of them. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.